Cognitive empathy is the double-edged sword of emotional intelligence. Uh, Cognitive empathy is the ability to intellectually understand another person's internal experience, to walk around inside their pain, inside their fears, their upbringing, their unmet needs, their survival patterns, even when those same patterns have wounded you. It is not just feeling with someone, it is seeing into them. You are seeing through them. It is the gift of insight. But like all gifts, it comes with a burden, you know. And the burden is your understanding, or your ability to be understanding becomes a prison. Emotionally intelligent people often don't get to experience the luxury of black and white thinking. They don't easily label someone as, let's say, toxic and then walk away. Why? Because they understand. They understand that they can trace the pain back to the source. They can see the trauma under the temper. They can hear the cry inside the manipulation. Basically, they can feel the abandonment inside the abandonment. But now this creates a trap. Because you're like, how can I be mad at them if I understand them so well? That's where the self-sabotage begins. Because you're confusing comprehension for justification. Then you end up getting trapped between awareness and boundaries. Highly emotionally aware people often carry the wound and the wisdom. They know why the person lashed out. They know what triggered the betrayal. They know the childhood origin of the harmful pattern. They know the inner child that was screaming beneath the adult's behavior. But knowing all this doesn't erase the damage. And that's the emotional bind. Because you're like, I know they were hurting, but I'm still hurt. This is where many lose themselves. Because they try to balance the scales between compassion for others and compassion for self. Hence, boundaries now becoming the battlefront. The most radical act of self-respect is realizing just because something makes sense doesn't mean it should be excused. Forgiveness does not equal access. Understanding does not require reconciliation. Neither does empathy cancel accountability. You can fully understand why someone did what they did and still walk away. You can still cut ties and still protect your peace. You're not cruel for choosing distance. You're not cold for choosing healing over harmony. In fact, it is the deepest expression of emotional maturity. To choose yourself, even when you understand them. Emotionally intelligent people often suffer silently because they rarely express the depth of the wound. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because they understand it too well. They'll say things like, it's not a big deal. You know what, they didn't mean it. I can see where they're coming from. But internally, they are bleeding. And the wound festers because instead of being processed, it is intellectualized. Insight without emotional release becomes emotional debt. And eventually, it collects through burnout, through bitterness, through emotional fatigue, or even somatic stress. Healing requires both empathy and discernment. And the highest level of healing is integration. Integration sounds like, I understand where you're coming from, but I won't carry it. I see your wounds, but I will not allow them to rewound me. I know your story, but I'm writing a different one for myself. This is the moment now where cognitive empathy meets emotional intelligence. It is the act of no longer letting your intelligence talk you out of your instincts. It is realizing that being a good person doesn't mean being a sponge for other people's unhealed pain, Understanding why someone hurt you does not require you to keep letting them. Cognitive empathy is a sacred gift, but without boundaries, it becomes a curse. The true mark of emotional intelligence is not just understanding others. It is knowing when understanding them starts becoming a betrayal of you. And the deepest act of healing is this: I love you. I understand you, but I choose me. All day, man, I choose me. My people, heal. Heal.